Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Expand and Evolve podcast. I'm your host, Carly Pinchin, and I have a guest joining me this week, Alessia Sculpt. That's how I'm introducing her. That's where you can find her on Instagram. But this week, I kind of sent her a message and I was like, I want to chat like healing through heartbreak and just the journey of, I feel like we have similarities in terms of like the fitness background and navigating body love and just being okay with like weight ups and downs and then navigating heartbreak, navigating breakups. You were married, right?
Yes.
Married.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay. So full married, just like me. And I feel like we went through separations around the same time. And it's been so fun watching your journey. And even same thing, like you were in corporate, then you transitioned to do pursue fitness full time. Like there's a lot of things that are very similar on our journeys. And you've been sharing so openly about your journey and being, single, no kids. You like entered, getting out of a marriage and then now re-entering this single phase of life and finding yourself and all of these amazing things that I've been able to follow that I just thought having a conversation could be really helpful, inspiring, relatable for people who may be transitioning and going through the same thing. So is there anything you want to say to just introduce yourself? Like, who are you? What do you do before we kind of jump into the conversation?
For sure. Thank you so much for having me today. I am really excited to chat also. I agree. I feel like I've been following along your journey and we've been on a similar path. Really long-term relationships, actually marriages. I did not have kids with him. You did. So that's like a whole other layer to navigate. But yeah, that corporate world into fitness and all the things. So I'm really happy to be here, excited to chat. So my kind of journey started when I was about 20 years old. My mom passed away. And she was super into fitness. And after she passed, so I had never worked out at that time, like ever, ever. And after she passed, this fitness studio that she used to go to hosted this workout class in her honor. And I went to just support it. And that was my first fitness class ever, 20 years old, nearly died, so gassed, like couldn't barely do it. And that was when things shifted for me. And I started getting into working out just for fun and just to feel really good. I was graduating school around that time and started my full finance career. So I worked in finance for almost 10 years, and working out during that time was like the highlight of my days. Like it's what just like gave me a bit of like light in my really dark, intense, like it was just a very stressful, toxic environment. Um, and then about 7 or 8, I guess, years into my finance career, I started to think about like, what am I doing here? Like, I feel like I did the classic thing of like going to school, getting a job, and getting another job, and just like following that traditional path. And then when I was about 27, around the time I got married, actually, um, I was like, wait a second, like, what is my plan? Like, what am I doing for my life? I don't really like this. Like, and I just started to tune into what felt good. And one of those things was working out. So I got certified and started to teach fitness on the side while working in finance. And I did both of those things I worked full time and taught for a couple years. And then ultimately was like, I love this so much. I want to build an online fitness platform, really make it on, this is before COVID, online, scalable, so I can reach more people and then start sharing on social to build a community. And so I did that. And now I eventually quit my finance career. And now I'm a full-time content creator, full-time fitness platform, run that. I host a lot of events in Toronto, New York, some even in Miami. And I'm just like very full on in the like wellness content creation world. And then, through that whole time, essentially around the same time my mom died, I met my now like ex-husband. So I met him about 6 months before my mom died. And I remember he met my mom a couple times, which was something really, really special. And we were young and in love. And, it was like we were best friends. And we still, even to when we split, we were best friends. But I feel like we had been living um, within the realm of like, working corporate and young kids, trying to just like put one foot in front of the other. And then when I shifted my career, like I don't know what came first, me opening up my mindset and shifting my career, or kind of a little bit of both. It was like my mindset kind of opened up and I shifted my career, and then everything started to change. Is like I started to think about, well, am I happy in my relationship and in my life also? So like that question about my happiness and what I wanted to do in my career, I had addressed that. But like then I started to open up about like, what about beyond that? What about where I live, who I'm with? Like, what are like all of these things of like, wait, I've never questioned this. We were just together, and then we were in love, and like we just got married and we did the things. But now we're at the point where like we might be having kids soon. So like, wait, before that, let me like reassess. And it really like nothing quote happened in that at the end of that relationship. It was really a year of me tapping into myself, being like, what is my heart and soul telling me? And where are we misaligned? And do I think we can work through it? And do I want to? And ultimately the answer was no. So we split about a year and a half ago. We separated about a year and a half ago. I had a very tumultuous first year after that. I was living at all, him and I were still trying to figure out the house that we own together, living situation. I was living in an Airbnb. I went to Miami for a few months, also in an Airbnb. I was living on friends' couches, then finally moved back into my house. It was very just like chaotic. And then finally, well, actually, and in that chaotic year, I started dating again, dated a ton, had so much fun, ended up getting into a relationship with a man who really turned quickly on me that I did not expect, which we can get into also. But finally, in the last 6 months, I feel like I'm in a really good place with everything. Like I've gotten more grounded, I've gotten more settled. I feel so much more like in tune with myself. I just moved into a new apartment. I'm not in my house anymore, the house that we had shared. So like life is moving on. And I've just learned so much in that process, as I'm sure you did. So maybe I'll pause there. I'm excited to get into all the things you want to get into.
No, I love it. And that was such a good intro. I didn't know that about your mom, but that's really cool that like
Yeah.
that was the catalyst because I feel like so often these massive transitions are huge catalysts to our life. It's like it's either a death, a breakup, a loss of some kind. Like these things typically are kind of like your wake ups that send you on a different path. Um
1000%. Couldn't
like
agree
imagine
more.
that didn't happen. Like it set you to this and who knew that 10 years later, 12 years later, you'd be now doing this full time as like a fitness person, you know? Like it's so special.
My life would have looked completely different. And I think like I'm not happy all these things
Of
happen, but
course.
I do try and look for the silver lining in like, okay, well, this happened. I could have been
Mhm.
victim mentality. I could have been woe is me. And instead, I've every single time picked myself up off the floor and been like, okay, like we're putting one foot in front of the
Mhm.
other.
Right. I love it. And also, I just want to point out how you said that, like you questioned your career and you were like, wait, I'm not happy here. And then you didn't stop there. Like you took it one step further to
Yeah.
ask, okay, wait, do I like where I live? Am I happy in my marriage? And I think that's a question so many people are often afraid to ask because they already know the answer and they don't want to go there. Because it's like once
Yeah.
you go there and you look at it, now you can't unsee it. Like that was the same thing for me when I had
Yes.
that moment of, oh shit, like I don't think I'm happy in my relationship. You can't go back. Like now it's all you can think of and all you can notice. And I know that was for me every time. I'd be like, it's okay. Like the thought's going to go away. Right. And I don't know if you had this for a while before you even said anything.
Yes.
It took me a while to say it out loud because I was like, oh, we've just been married for a while. So like, this is just a weird little thought. Like I'm sure other people have these. It's going to go away. Right. And I waited and I like hoped it would go away. And I distracted myself and I started drinking a lot and like doing all these things to take myself out of it, hoping it would just go away until it was so in my face, like it was not going away. It was something I had to deal with. Um, and I don't know if you want to share on that. And then your tumultuous relationship that happened, same
Yes.
shit.
I
I think
know,
it's like
right?
when
We
you're
DM'd
in,
about that. Remember? It
oh
was
my gosh.
I shared very publicly when I was going through that because I had
Yeah.
been just like really shocked and like
Yeah.
he was scary by the end.
Yeah.
But we DM'd about it, and I remember you being
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, same, super toxic, like toxic relationship right after." But before I get into that, I do want to
Yeah.
say like I hear you, and I went through something similar about like starting to question it, but not even wanting to go there. But then the thing is
Mhm.
that not wanting to address it, it it breeds like stuckness. So then you feel like, well, you're not happy, but you're too scared to do anything about it. So then you're just stuck. And stuckness is then in turn breeds anxiety and depression. And so I was feeling immense anxiety. I had my first like real big like and only really so far like depressive episode where I was just like, what am I going to do? Because I was so paralyzed of moving in either direction. And I was so set on making a decision. Do I stay or do I go? And I think what I had to realize was like I need to let go of that decision making. Like I need to make that decision because that's making me feel more stuck, which is making me feel more
Yeah.
anxious and depressed, which is making the cloud over me like even more intense and I can't even
Mhm.
do my day-to-day things. The day
Yeah.
that I like let some of that go and decided I was just gonna like whoop, hands in the air, like if I'm not ready, I'm not ready, let it move
Mhm.
through me. Things actually took a turn and I feel like I ended up making a decision quicker because I kind of let go and took the pressure off of
Mm.
making that decision. But it was really such a tough time. Um,
I feel like same thing. Like I was so in like, what do I do? And like, do I choose this because it looks like this, or do I choose this because it looks like this? And I had kids too, and so that adds, like you said, another
yeah.
layer of just more people that are being impacted. And I had to go. My choice right now is I'm not ready to choose.
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Same for like a
my
year.
choice right now. Yes, I was like,
Yes.
you don't need to choose today. Like,
Yeah.
be in the in between of not knowing. Stop racking your brain 24/7 of like, what am I going to do? And just allow yourself to be in the I'm undecided and I'm not ready to choose. And that was
1000%.
same thing. Gave me so much peace in the in between versus like trying to figure out before I was ready. And then you probably found the same thing. Eventually, it just, you were like, oh, I'm ready now. And I know my choice
Yeah.
rather than that pressure of trying to find it. Yeah.
You never think you're going to get to the place of feeling ready and then someday you actually do, and like
Hmm.
trusting yourself to get there. And I think a big part of this is understanding that you're never going to be 100% certain with your decision. Like there is always going to be a part, like you have to grieve either way.
Yep.
So if you decide to stay, you have to grieve the life you could have had if you had left, and if you decide to go, you have to grieve that person and the relationship and the loss of that. So I think what I was really stuck on was like, well, which one is the right decision? And the thing is, there is no right decisions. There's just decisions, and then what you choose to do with them and how you move forward. And I think understanding that just because I was sad that the relationship was ending didn't
Hmm.
mean it was the wrong choice. There was just the grief
Right.
of losing him, losing my best friend, because we were it wasn't working anymore, but we were still cared for each other so much. And
Hmm.
honestly, to this very day, like, we've had to communicate once or
Yeah.
twice just for like logistical things. And like, we always will. You spend 20 years,
Hmm.
12 years together, So just because I was sad and I even still have moments of sadness now,
Yeah.
does not make it the wrong choice. It's just
Right.
part of grieving.
Yeah. And it is. It's like I always say that sometimes breakups, they feel it's similar to a death cycle, right? Like you
Yeah.
really do have to go through the grief and all the things that could have been and then missing the person. And it's someone that was in your life to not being in your life, it can feel like a death in terms of
Yeah.
how our emotions process it. And so giving yourself that space to feel it all. I'm curious for you because you that right decision, I feel like I was stuck on that too. Like what's the right one? Like what's the one that I'm supposed to do for my life to be the way it is?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's like there isn't really one. It's just different ways that your life is going to go. And I try to come back to no matter what, it's going to be perfect. So like if you're supposed to be together, you're going to go through a journey and end up back together, or you won't. And like something better is on the other side that was more aligned for you anyways. But did you find um kind of like you were in a place where did you just not feel in love? Were you kind of like, I know that there's more, like your soul was like, there has to be more than this. Like, yes, we're great friends and we get along really well, but like this like love that I know can exist isn't here. Like, did you start to feel like what was the pull for you that
Yeah.
kind of made you feel like, okay, something's off?
Yeah. I felt like my I loved him and I was in love with him, but it wasn't my soul love. Like it wasn't my like
Mhm.
soul connection love. Like, and this is the sort of thing that I think if you're really busy in your life and you never take time to pause
Yeah.
and reflect and think, you may not ever realize. Like I didn't
Mhm.
for so long. But
Yeah.
once I started to know myself better and get into therapy and do my morning stuff, my meditations, whatever, I started to create space in my life to think and feel. And like my gut
Mhm.
was telling me that I couldn't point to one single thing that was wrong. Sure, there was like several things that weren't exactly right. But if I really
Mhm.
wanted to, I feel like we could have worked through those things,
Yeah.
but the reality is like my soul was like, no, like I was just feeling like it's time to go in this
Mhm.
direction. It's so hard to explain. And and by the end, it wasn't even about him. It was about me
Mhm.
choosing myself. Like I say this all the time. I didn't walk away from him. I chose to walk toward me.
Yeah.
And that was so incredibly hard because I had so much love for him, but he just was not, he's not my life partner. Like he's just not.
Yeah.
He's my 12-year partner. I cherish those years so much, but I do think that 12 years is a beautiful amount of time for a full and complete love story. Like,
Right.
and now and I think I loved him to the capacity I had when I was
Mhm.
younger. But as we've evolved, my depth
Yeah.
and capacity for that kind of love and connection has grown, and it wasn't aligned anymore. And I know that since then, like and we can get into this later. I feel like I talked about the
Mhm.
toxic ex-boyfriend and then the now kind of situation.
Mhm.
But I now know like what I was missing. And I didn't know what I was missing at the time, but
Yes.
I felt there was something more.
Right. Ugh, like so parallel because same thing. Like
Crazy.
I was so busy because I did the same thing, went to college, got the degree, got the job, then
Yes.
transitioned into fitness full time, then started another business, like
And had
went
kids.
all in on that.
Two
Yeah.
kids too.
And then
Like,
2 kids. So it's like life was just happening so fast. And then it was in 2021, world shut down, stuff happened with my business. I finally had moments to sit. And
yeah,
in that stillness and in that sitting and in that not overly being busy is when all of these thoughts started to pop up. And I
yeah,
think some of us stay busy because we're so afraid of the truth. But like when you aren't willing to go in and look at that, like it's going to manifest as disease within your body. It's going to manifest in other ways. It's going to create chaos. Like you can run from it as long as you can try, but it's like eventually it's going to catch up to you. And I think sitting in that stillness allowed me to go, crap, like there's all these
yeah,
things that are not feeling right. And it's like the same thing. Like there was nothing wrong. Like
yeah,
he's such a good guy. Everything was great. Everything was picture perfect. Everything should be good. But something in my body was like, this isn't it. And I love that you said that you were choosing you and like to go to you because you did. You got in a relationship at 20. I was similar. That's really young. Like I never
yeah.
spent a good chunk after understanding healing work growth alone. And I
Mm-hmm.
think no matter what, I needed this season to be alone in order to reconnect to me and truly know me. And I think when you have that space and time, you'll probably find this too. The relationship you're going to attract from the space is going to be so different because you're doing it out of a place of like conscious, healed, and like growth focus versus like, oh my gosh, I just need an attachment because like I don't want to feel alone and you're completely unaware of what you're even seeking the relationship for. And I don't know if you've found that. Like have you done like gotten crystal clear on like what you want your partner to be and all that stuff? Oh, it froze for a sec.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it froze. It's
And I
okay.
feel like
Um,
yeah.
1000. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It was just frozen.
Are we back?
Hmm.
Okay.
Good.
1000%. Yes. I got really clear on what was important to me and what I wanted in a partner. I would say I got pretty clear on that post divorce or post
Mhm.
separation. And then I got extra clear on it after my toxic relationship last summer. Very toxic man. And maybe now is a good time to like get into that.
Yeah. Which
Um,
I want you to jump into because obviously hindsight, you can look back. I know for me too, exactly the reason it all happened. But like, what do you think? Because obviously you can be doing the work and you're doing the healing, and it's just like, what the hell? How does this situation come up? And just if you feel like there's anything that you can look back on and be like, oh, this is 1,000% why I attracted this thing to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many things that I can look back on and feel that way about. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag on the audio. Are you cutting a little bit in this podcast?
If we need to. Usually it kind of like fixes itself. So
Okay.
if we need to, we will. Yeah. I'll mute myself so that there's no echo.
So I think there was a few reasons why I got into it and like found myself in a toxic relationship with someone super manipulative and someone who turned out to be like honestly scary for me. I think I had only been with my ex husband really seriously, who was a really great person to the core. And I think when I got into the dating world, I assumed that men were that way. I was like really innocent, really naive. I think also I was really emotional still when I met this person. And there was such a strong connection. And I didn't yet understand the difference between there being like a really strong connection and compatibility in a relationship. And I did not see the red flags about his communication style and his emotional immaturity and his like he would like be set off a lot and say like I didn't like all that eventually happened and I didn't see those initial red flags. I trusted. My heart was so open. Um, and I gave him a lot. Like by the time I started to see all those things, I was pretty attached. And I gave him a lot of opportunities when really I shouldn't have. I should have taken the anxiety in my body and the like crazy butterflies, scared to look at my phone, like unsure if I was ever going to hear from him again. Like that level of like anxiety that I was feeling, I should have taken that as this is like now looking back, this is not for me. Instead, I was like waiting to be chosen by him. And like he did choose me. And we had a very short period of time where things were great. And then his personality really started to come out. He started to be emotionally and verbally abusive, call me names, yell at me. Like it was like, make me do all these, like, it was just like, so I was really scared by the end. And he, speaking to anyone about it, all my friends, my therapist, everyone was like, this person doesn't sound okay, like stable. And I didn't see that. And by the time I did, I was really attached and I wanted to give him more chances. Luckily for me, it really blew up on me when I was in Europe last summer and I shared really openly about this. I was in Europe with him. And then we left each other. I went on to meet my friend. And when I was away with my friend, he had gone back to the US, which is where he lived. And I was out one night and well, as I would be, in Mykonos with my best friend, like partying, having a great time. And when I woke up in the morning for like 10 hours straight, he was sending me texts that were just absolutely the meanest, nastiest, grossest things ever, calling me all the things, saying all these horrible things about me, that I'm a liar and a cheater and that I'm a user and that I just like all these, like it was absurd. I've actually blacked so much of it out, but my friend knows it all. And luckily for me, I ended it, blocked him, all the things, flew home to Toronto and knew I was never going to have to see him again. I think if we were in the same city, like I don't know what would have happened. I maybe would have even given him another chance, but there was like so much lead up to this. That was the final straw. And I do think it's like the kind of situation where if you're not seeing what's in front of you, then the universe will make sure you fucking see it. Like, this man was not for me. What am I going to do? Marry an abusive man? Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I know a lot of women do. And I have such a, like, I really feel like I have, what are the words? Like, I really like understand an element of that now, how hard it is to walk away. But like my life, I am destined for so much more. I know that, than to be with an abusive, horrific person. So like, and I wasn't willing to see that, even though some of the signs were coming up in front of me after I had known him for a few months. And then the universe was like, no, bitch, you're done. And things just absolutely exploded and I had no choice. I had absolutely no choice. But by that time, I feel like I bounced back pretty quickly because I had been building all these like tools throughout the last like couple of years with my separation, with all those things. And that's just like the high level story. It's so, if I get into this actual stories, whatever, it's so bad. Like everyone I've ever told is like, that's the scariest thing I've heard. But I've learned so much from it. And I just would never tolerate any of those behaviors again. And I would then understand that like those feelings in my body were red flags. Like confusion equals no, like where I think early in dating, confusion meant like, I don't know, like, I just didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right on like how people end up in an abusive cycle, because same thing for me, the connection was so insane.
Yeah.
with this person, which now I understand, like all those electric feelings in my body is anxiety. Like
Yes.
they're not positive things, but you
Yes.
think you're like, oh, is this like my soulmate? Like, is this my person? Because it's like something you've never felt before. Um,
Yes.
but I know for me too, it was like there were so many signs, and every time we would try to like see each other or meet up, I would always get blocked. Like something would happen where like
Wow.
something would get in the way or I couldn't end up going or whatever. And it was like I was trying to get blocked and same thing until it was finally like, okay, you are not going to let up until this blows up in your face. And so it had to blow up in my face in order for me to be like, please, for the love, just stop. Like,
Yeah.
stop trying with this. It's not meant to be. Like, let this person go out of your life. But it's the chaos. It's when you naturally see the good in people, because
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like, I would never assume these qualities could exist really.
Yes.
Like, it's just like, wait, what? Like, how could this all be a thing? Because you see the good and you assume the best, and I'm super trusting. Same thing, like you could be seen as naive, but I'm like, no, I'm just very trusting of people. And I think now too, because of I just think it's almost important, and I know for me it's like I was chasing that feeling of being chosen when I left my marriage. It was the feeling of being chosen, the feeling of like safety, like this big like man role that like I felt like I just wanted, which was a very which I it was just like a toxic version of that.
Yeah.
And yes, sure, he could have chose me and made me feel like that, but it came at the expense of like me overlooking everything else, like you just said. Like I overlooked everything else because I was so focused on that feeling of like I don't even know what all of them would have been, but I guess like that feeling of like safety or like somebody who's obsessed with you that I literally overlooked every other quality
Well,
where now yeah, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, well, we were talking before about that soul connection that we both
Yes.
kind of were looking for. And like when you think that you found it, you're willing to overlook some of the other things when you're
Mhm.
not fully, healed yet and you're looking for
Mhm.
that soul connection and you think you found it, you're like, okay, well, this is it. I'll do anything for that. And that's
Yes.
that's like how beautiful of a thing that we both are very trusting and have really open
Mhm.
hearts. Like I think
Yeah.
the you can go through all these things and you can close up, or
Mhm.
you can learn from it and keep your heart open. And I think that is a very brave thing to
Mhm.
do. I don't want to be another way. Like I'm grateful
Yeah.
that that happened, because if I was super closed, like I may not have dated at all. Like, you
Yeah.
know, in the last year. And it's like that, I'm so grateful for that.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and remaining open because same thing, and I don't know. I agree. Like I bounced back from that situation so quickly. It was just like, oh wow, shit's hitting the fan. Okay, cool. Like, yep, felt a little bit of sadness, felt a little bit of grief, and then it was just like, I'm good. Like I was
Yeah.
good very quickly. Obviously, not so much time had been invested there, but I also think it's like when you have all the tools and you know it's just leading you to something better, it's so much easier to let it go. Um, and I feel like that helped teach me like you need to get way more clear on what you want, because if you don't, like
Yeah.
this is what you're going to get. And so it helped me refine what I was looking for. And I also think that relationship, it taught me like had I not experienced that, I wouldn't have known that there was so much missing in my marriage that I wasn't even aware of. Like the fact that men know how to communicate, they can make you feel really loved, cherished, and adored. All of these things that I'd never felt in my marriage, it taught me that they exist. And so as much as it ended in a toxic shit show, it's like it taught me a ton of qualities that I actually really needed to know exist. And then it was able to kind of refine my list yet again of like things that I need to be looking for in a marriage or relationship moving forward. And I don't know if you felt that too, like where there obviously there was good things or you wouldn't have just jumped right in to it. So it's like what were the things for you that you were like very drawn to?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about that because I've been so, like, it blew up so extremely that I was so focused on that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it, it was really that, like, my heart felt something, like, I don't know how to describe it.
Mm.
Like, it felt, well, first of all, it felt fun. It felt intense. It felt like, you know, interesting. He lived in a different city. Like I met him while I was away in Florida and he was there and he had a very different life. Um, and it felt so like I just felt so like connected. We had so many things in common. Like And it was just like my heart and body had lit up like it hadn't before.
Mm,
So
mhm,
um, for me, it was really that. And I
mhm,
agree with you. Like, I'm so grateful because it taught me that, like, I could feel this way about someone. Like, I could
mhm,
feel like so happy and excited and like
mhm.
really connected and have that depth and really look at he was super intelligent, like really interesting, intelligent, like, you know, and look at someone and be like, wow, you're so interesting. And like, kind of, and like, have that admiration towards
Mhm.
someone where I don't know that I had felt that previously.
Right.
Like, I want a partner that I can look at and be like, wow, like you're so like some, you know. And so, yeah, all those sort of things. I am very grateful that it happened because I remember it finishing, it ending, and me being like, okay, well, what if I could find the connection that I had, like a
Mhm.
version of the connection that I had with this person with the kind of partnership that I had had with my ex-husband. Like maybe that is kind of, so I had like gone from this end all the way to this end, and then,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I could find something more in the middle. And so, yeah, I am very grateful while it, you know,
I
wasn't a
feel
great
like,
experience.
because for me too, now reflecting back, I'm like, I feel like it was an activator for me. Like it activated my sexuality again. It activated
Ah,
the
yeah.
fire within me that I forgot existed. It was like literally
I
laying
love
dormant
that.
like forever.
Yes.
And I don't know if you found that. And
Yes.
then the depth. It was like I was longing for that like depth and deep connection.
Yes.
And it also showed me like this is possible.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be with this guy because it's a little bit of a mess. So it's like it was all good. And then I guess for you, anything else you want to say on that part before we kind of jump into just like what you found after and like transitioning to a season of aloneness or singleness again?
Um, I would say one more thing is like people ask me all the time, like, how did you get through all of this stuff? And I think like really, well, first of all, therapy,
Hmm.
like having someone in my corner. Like, I don't have family support like the way a lot of people do, like
Right.
a version of it. But I don't have, well, why I don't have my mom, and a lot of people's, you know, mom would be like the comforting kind of person. Like, I don't have
Hmm.
that. So like for me, that is largely my therapist. Um, and then, you know, committing to my workouts, my meditations,
Hmm.
like all that wellness stuff, and then really leaning into my spirituality and like understanding that everything is happening how it's supposed to.
Hmm.
You have to let go of things before, you know, let go of things in your life to create space for newness, for the things that you're looking forward. You have to trust in that process. And
Hmm.
so, like, daily reading and at listening to spiritual podcasts and books and things, like all that, like those reminders are really important. And I started weaving that into my content too, because if I'm really thinking about how did I do this, it
Hmm.
was letting go and trusting that there was more for me. And that's the
Hmm.
spirituality piece.
Yes, it is. It's the faith. Like
It's the
I
faith.
don't
Yeah.
know if you don't have any connection to like, and it doesn't have to be religious and God, it's like
No.
a connection to source, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, like something greater that you know you are being led and supported the whole way through. Like even through the hard, it's on purpose. It's to bring you to something greater, like bring you closer to where you're supposed to be. I don't know if I could have navigated it so well. And I
Yeah.
think same thing, like I really dove into the spirituality piece, whether I was hiring like going to Reiki practitioners, going to body workers that helped pull things out of me that had like they were tied to just like I don't even know what it would be called, just like old indigenous practices. Like they had wisdom that I had never heard before, and then being able to like introduce that stuff to me helped me so much. Same thing, like the reading, the meditations, the stillness, like doing breath work, going to events that helped me reconnect to me were such a big supporter. And same thing, I used therapy, some talk therapy in the beginning until it just felt like I didn't need to talk about it anymore. I needed to go somatically inward and start
Mm.
healing the other stuff. And I think, I don't know if you've noticed that on your journey too, where you're like, oh crap, like these things and this reason that I ended up in this marriage or these relationships, like it's linked to different things in the past. But for me, I had to really acknowledge, like, okay, you've stepped through relationship after relationship after relationship. Like, what was really going on for you? And like, come reconnect to yourself and like go back. Like, is there stuff from mom? Is there stuff from dad? Is there stuff from past relationships? Like, go back and heal and deal with that and feel it all. Cause for so long, I didn't feel like I was like the strong one that I was like, I'm totally great and I'm going to stay busy and I'm totally fine. I don't need to feel anything. Like, I don't need to deal with any of the old stuff. And I think this breakup, because I was like, I don't want this to happen again. I don't want to get remarried and like be unconsciously in a relationship and like have it just all of a sudden me wake up one day like, wait, I don't want to be with this person. I want to consciously be able to navigate this in such a different way. And for me, that was diving into all of the healing work. And I'm sure you probably feel similar, where obviously there's going to be circumstances and situations where everything's going to work out perfectly, even if you're not with your partner that's forever next, let's say. But I think when you come from it from this place and you've done so much of that, reconnecting to yourself and like letting things go, letting go of the attachments, and it just brings you, I don't know, to like such a different place where I can't imagine entering another relationship based on just feeling. And I don't know if you're feeling like that too. Like, because of that experience where I was all in from just how it felt, now I'm so much more like, no, I need to see if compatibility wise you make sense for a life partner. I
Mm-hmm.
can feel all these things toward you, but like, if these things don't mesh, what are we doing? And I don't know if it's like, I don't know if you're finding that, but I'm finding that because I'm dating too. And I'm like, logically speaking, I feel like this is the first time in my life where I'm dating unattached, like unattached to the outcome, unattached to trying to make it work, and just letting it be what it is and seeing like, do you fit within my life and could we make a life together, and just observing through getting to know them and then letting it be what it is. And I don't know if you found that like a little bit less of a yeah, like, I don't know if you're finding that in the way you're dating now, where I'm like, I used to be like, are you gonna be my husband? Oh my God, could you be the one? Like, could you be? And then now I'm just like, no, like, I already know my husband exists perfectly. It's gonna be amazing. And now it's just the journey of until I find him, get to know people.
1000% agreed. When I got back into dating after my toxic ex, I
Yeah.
had the mentality of let him show me, let them, whoever they are, show me who they are. Move really
Mm-hmm.
slow, be
Yeah.
really intentional, not be rushing through, have a million dates a week. Like, I did all these things that I dated differently. I would have phone calls with them before going out with them because I didn't want to waste an entire night with them if I could talk to them on the phone for 2 minutes and know that they weren't for me. But it was a major, like, if he wants to do this, let him. If he wants to message me this, let him. In the sense of not let them walk all over me, but let them show me who they are.
Yeah.
And so I can quickly, easily be like, nope, like any sort of manipulative behavior. I remember one guy
Mm-hmm.
specifically in the fall that I was messaging, like met through the apps, messaging, trying to set something up. And he didn't, he was like, wanted to take me out on the date. And then it was like coming up and he didn't message me. And I didn't message him. It was like, let them show me and he then messaged me after it was supposed to happen, being like, I'm so sorry. Like, so this came up, whatever. And I was like, no problem, but I don't think we're compatible. Thanks so much. Like, best of luck. And he came
Yeah.
back and was like, wait, that's not fair. And all these things. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Any ounce of like, you're not sticking with your word. You're trying to turn this back
Mm-hmm.
on me. You aren't all, you don't stand in integrity and like, you're not reliable and all these, like, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not even a question. So let
Yes.
them do whatever they're going to do, and then me be able to make my decisions like accordingly, instead of like trying to play into it a little more and trying to like guide them or to like, no. And
Mm-hmm.
I
No,
feel
that's
like,
huge. Like, let them show you who they are. And I
yeah,
think, and not creating it to be something that it isn't. Like, when they show you that they don't stick to their word, believe that that's a characteristic quality. Like,
yes,
you don't need to try to overlook it. It's like,
nope,
that's what I feel too. I'm like really noting, who are you and how do you show up? And like, are you consistent? Are you reliable? Do you stay within integrity? Like, I'm just letting them show me who they are.
yeah,
Exactly like you said. So
yeah.
valuable. Okay, sorry,
And when,
continue.
yeah, and so I'm dating differently. So letting them, or I did date differently.
Yeah.
Careful with my language here. I'll get to it in a minute. But I was, letting them show me who they were. I was so much more intentional with my time and my energy. I wasn't just like swipe, 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 swipe. I was like, wait, like, let me look at this. Like, is this a potential person? Like, maybe their pictures are like fine, but like, look at all the depth that they have in their profile. I
Yeah.
was putting out more depth in my profile because
Yeah.
I wanted them to see me as like, not just this, like, cute girl, but like, look at
Mhm.
all this that I've started a business, I've done all these things, and like showing them that, and then having a phone call before getting on the date to make sure that it was someone like aligned with. Um, Staying on the first date for just like a couple of hours, not letting, those dates where like you start and then you go to another spot and you go to another spot and it's like you're together for 10 hours and you've had 10 drinks, and like those are the dates that have clouded my judgment in the past. My
Wait, wait,
second
this
or
is important. The
This is really
alcohol.
important. Yeah, the
The
alcohol. So
alcohol.
two
Yes.
drinks max on the
Yeah.
first few dates. Because after that, your judgment gets clouded. That
Mhm.
my toxic ex, our second or third date, turned into one of those where it was like I had all these drinks and we ended up being together all day and all these things. And like I fell hard in that date. And I'm
Mhm.
like, how much of that was for real and how much of that
Yeah.
was the alcohol? And then once you get attached, it's hard to like disattach,
Yeah.
like after that.
Yeah.
So like, I get like, and I love alcohol. I drink alcohol. Like
Yeah.
I'm all about a drink or two to like loosen up during the day. A lot of dates are for drinks, though I don't think they have to be, but like a lot of dates are like, let's go grab
Mhm.
a drink. And so 2 drinks max, 2 hours max too, because you're a
Yeah.
busy person. You have things to do. You either have plans later or you have to wake up early in the morning, even if you
Yeah.
don't. Like, just like you're a busy person and you don't just give all your time and energy to these men. And I have to say, dating differently works. Because in the fall, I met someone amazing and we're
Yeah.
still together to this day. So I have a boyfriend now and I'm
What?
super, super happy. Yeah, I haven't shared that on social yet and I will really soon.
You can always
Uh,
keep it to yourself for,
and yeah,
when you're
so
ready.
it's been
Mhm.
6 months. So I've kept
Yeah.
it to myself. I've really just he's so wonderful and it's so
Mhm.
important to me that I really want to like protect him and
Yeah.
it like as much
Yeah.
as possible, because like, I post videos and if they go viral and I get thousands of comments tearing me down, I can handle that, but like he didn't sign up for that. So I'm just like a little bit careful of that. And
Wait,
even when
can we
I,
talk about that? The men are
yeah,
absolutely insane on Instagram.
insane.
Isn't it
No,
crazy how
it's
mad
like
they get?
they're so disgusting. They're literally like, I'm like, I'm not married and I don't have kids yet. And I'm waiting for the right person to get
Yeah.
married again and have kids with. And I'm happy to be on my own and I'm encouraging you guys to be happy and enjoy your life until then. Okay. The message is very reasonable. And these men are like, you're going to die alone. You're an old cat lady. Your eggs are done. You're spoiled milk. You're like, you deserve to die. Your parents
No,
should have aborted you. And you're like, are you okay?
they are not okay. They are
No,
unhinged. Like
unhinged.
I same thing. Like any of my
Unhinged.
reels that have gone viral, men, they
Yeah.
are mad. And like I don't know, for me it just shows as a collective like how much work still needs to happen for these men
Yes.
because it makes me sad. Like
Yes.
you're existing with this much hate and this much lack of purpose in your life. You have the space to attack women online.
Yeah.
And that's like a whole other thing. But I'm just like, I've never had women attack me, not once.
No,
On any
same.
of the viral
Wi-
videos,
Same.
never. It's only men.
Women are like, okay, well, you do you. I have kids and I'm still happy, so we can all be happy. Like, that's the
Yeah.
extent of the
Yeah.
women's comments. And the men are
But
like,
even
you
that is like,
deserve to die. You're
no,
like,
even that though, like the women who feel the need to comment that, I'm like, this is your own projection of like a life
yeah,
that you're probably kind of jealous of, or like
right,
something that you wish you had, or like a
right.
relationship you're not happy about. Like sometimes people get really activated because I've talked about leaving my husband and having kids, and like they get activated, I feel like, because they realize like they want to leave, but they're so afraid of facing that. Same
Yeah,
thing probably with you. Like people who are like, well, I
totally.
have kids and I'm happy. And I'm like, it's okay to also like miss that you wish you could be single sometimes. Like kids are a lot, like, and
Yeah,
yeah, but I just find women are definitely not as mean as men. Okay, anyways,
no.
continue. You have a boyfriend, you're
So,
protecting it, which I think
yes.
is very
So,
important.
so as soon as I started dating differently, I met him almost like right away.
Okay, so
And
explain this part because this is so important for the single people who, yeah,
yeah,
this is really
so
important.
as
Yeah.
soon as I shifted my mindset and I shifted my mindset to like, I don't need someone. Like, I am going to start putting myself out there, but I have worked on myself and I am good alone and I'm so happy
Mhm.
with myself. But, let me just start dabbling a little bit and let me do it in a way that is super intentional. I'm not dating to fill time in my day, in my week. I
Yeah.
have a lot of friends. I have great friends, great family, great career. Like, I don't need to spend like 2 nights a week going out on dates. So only if
Yeah.
someone is super legit, am I going to commit some time to them. And I have to say, almost like really soon after, right away, I met my boyfriend. He has never made me question, not once, whether he's interested, not one level of confusion right from the beginning. Super reliable, super trustworthy, trusting, super kind, and just like has so much integrity. So, like, all the things that, like, the best communicator, open communication all the time, not afraid to be vulnerable, emotionally mature. And it was like, it wasn't it wasn't like crazy sparks in the beginning. It was like, this person is really great and I'm going to keep moving toward it. And I felt so safe and so like loved from the beginning, like, and not in love, like love, romantic love, but like cared for in from like the beginning, where I just like, I kept moving toward it, moving toward it. And yeah, it went kind of slow at the beginning where we would see each other like once a week, and we were both busy. I never canceled plans with a friend to go on a date with him. I remember in the very beginning, he asked me on like a third date, I think, that for that. So we had gone out the weekend prior. He asked me on a third date for the following weekend. We couldn't link, like the schedules didn't allow. I had plans with my friends and I didn't want, I was like, I don't cancel plans with friends for men. So I'm not available till the following weekend. So it was 2 weeks in between dates and I didn't question whether it was going to happen. Like I knew, like I trusted him, that like he was so clear and so intentional that I knew that that was like, I was going to see him 2 weeks later. And things, I obviously had some scars and some like baggage coming out of my marriage and coming out of that toxic relationship, and he was so patient and understanding. Like I took me a minute to like want to commit and be boyfriend girlfriend, be exclusive and all that. Like it took me quite a while honestly, and he was just like, well, I want to be with you, so when you're ready, you let me know, no problem. I was in
How quickly did he say that? I'm curious.
um within probably like, so I was we met at the beginning of October.
Mhm.
I was going to Miami to live for January and February, and he knew that. So pretty quickly, let's say like 2 months in, I
Yeah.
remember him saying to me, if you want to go to Miami and be single and do your thing, I completely get that. Like you deserve it. Like whatever if you want to do that, that's totally fine. But if you want me to, like, if you want to stay in touch and like, maybe be together, I would love to come visit you, but up to you. And that for me, so that happened like maybe 2 months in to meeting him.
Mhm.
And that for me was the first like really strong sign of like, this man is so, like, he knows what he wants. He's not afraid to go after it, except that the most respectful of like me and like very good at communicating. Um, so that was like kind of when things started to turn. And then probably another month, so 3 months from meeting him was when he was like right before I left for Miami, he was like, I want to be with you, but like you let me know when you're ready. And I did.
Mhm.
And we've been together since. Yeah, it's like so different. It's so different than
Okay,
anything
I
I've
want to go back to
experienced.
the beginning. This is
Yeah.
important because I feel like
Okay.
this,
Okay.
these are things I'm noting for myself too. So, did you guys
Okay.
meet on an app? How did you meet?
Yes, we met on Hinge. Yes.
Okay, fun.
And his profile was it was like, I remember it was like more interesting. He had like a lot of hobbies, and he had pictures of him like on a bike and on a motorcycle and like doing all this stuff. And I
Mhm.
liked that because when men are not busy, they are at the club. And I don't want a man that's at the club. I want a man who's like fixing his car and like, biking to wherever to meet his friends and like whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so that was really important to me. But also, I don't know what made, so he lives not right currently. He is like into real estate and is currently living just slightly outside of the city that I am. Normally, I would never have swiped right on someone that doesn't live right in the city. I would have been like, what is this? Like, no, like suburb kind of thing. Um, but I did, and I don't know why I did, but I guess his profile was like popped out at me so much that I did. And that's something interesting of like, that was an accident, but the advice I'll give to other people is like, don't necessarily stick to what you know and your type and what you've had in the past and what you think is good. So for me, accidentally it happened that I swiped on someone whose current location is not in the city. But for you, it's like people have these like types, and it's like maybe your type's not working for a reason. So maybe you should try swiping on someone that seems really great, but isn't what you typically go for.
Well, and leaning into that feeling where for you, you're just like, I don't know why, but I am. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
right. Yeah.
like, same thing. Like, there's been people where I'm like, I don't know why, but I felt this pull. And it's like,
Yeah.
listen to the pull.
Yeah,
Even if it doesn't
exactly.
make sense or doesn't look like your person, like just listen to the pull because
Yes.
there's probably a reason for it. And then you guys
And
went on your first, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so and then get off the apps immediately. Like the immediate thing, like 3 messages on the apps back and forth like in one day, and then it's like this. I usually say, like, I'm not afraid to say, like, this is my number. If you'd like to go out sometime, text me. Period.
Right,
Goodbye. App closed. Not answering you ever again on the app.
right, right.
I would never give my social handle. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, what's your social handle so we can like stay connected? Like,
Mhm.
no, if you don't want to get my number and ask me on a date, like you're done to me. No. And I'm savage. I was savage. Like, I don't care. Like, who are these men? They're no one.
Right.
Like, I'm not, why am I trying to save someone's, like, not hurt someone's feelings? It's like,
Yeah.
I have to prioritize me. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so
That's
no
so
social
funny.
handles.
I'm the opposite. I like to see their Instagram because I feel like I can get to know them
Oh
to
no,
see if
I
it's
don't want to
like,
know anything before. Like, I don't want to.
really?
No, because if someone
Pre-veg?
judged, if someone looked at my Instagram before we went out, which I'm sure they all do,
Yeah.
um, like it's me, but it's Alessia sculpt. Like, it's not my who I
It's
am
not
on the
you. Yeah.
couch. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like my romantic level of like who I am,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So like I
It's
wouldn't
a
want them to
portion.
get that idea. Yeah.
Hmm.
And my boyfriend said that he obviously found me in 1 second. Like, I didn't tell him my social, but found me before our first date, looked at it and was like, holy shit, there's like, like she's online. She has a presence. And was like, he said he did one swipe and then was like, ah, this is not how I want to get to know her, closed it and didn't look anymore until like weeks after we had met. And I
Mm,
really liked that because I want someone to get to know me for me. And if someone's judging me based on my social, it just doesn't feel good. Not
right.
when my social is work.
Yes. The same thing
Yeah.
for me, right?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
it it's a portion of me. You can kind of get to know me, but like that's not fully me. There's so much
Exactly.
else. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
No, so
yeah.
true. Okay. Because I feel like that's important too, like getting off the apps. I also would never, for me personally, I'm like, I'm not sending the first message. You can message me. You
A
want to
thousand
set
percent.
something up, message me. Like, I'm not about to chase anything. I've done that
No,
before in all my old things. I
agreed.
pursued the shit out of it all. And it's like, the man, if I want to feel chosen, I'm going to have to allow this man to choose me. I can't be the one that's like forcing the situation forward. Um,
1,000%. And I saw you posted on social, and I really resonated with it about like the masculine and the feminine, and how in
yeah.
your marriage you were so in your masculine. And I agree. And I'm so cognizant of that now, of being in my
Mhm.
feminine, of letting them do things for me, of letting them come to me, of like being soft and relaxing into it. And I think it takes
Mhm.
the right, very secure man for for a woman that has been in her masculine for a long time to finally
Yeah.
soften. And like
Mhm.
that, I felt that really soon after meeting my boyfriend, and I that was one of the reasons why I kept moving toward it. And I also think like your first, second, third date, everyone's trying to decide if like this is your husband, and it's like you don't need to decide if this is your
No.
husband for maybe 6 months, a year. Like, you don't need to decide till you decide, like till like
Yeah.
it's time, right? So like, just instead of trying to decide, just keep thinking about, do I want to go on one more date? Like, do I
Yeah.
feel good? Do I want to go on one more date? And that
Mhm.
for me is what happened. Like, every day I'd be like, okay, yeah, one more date. I wasn't like, my boyfriend is so different. Like, we would have never met. We joke, we would have never met in person.
Mhm.
He's so different, that we are very different, but in terms of like, I guess like our past, but like we're
Yeah.
actually so aligned in like how we work on ourselves and what we want to, how we want our life to look like, and like all these bigger picture
Mhm.
things. Um, but so I, in the first few dates, I would like psych myself out. Well, like, but he's this, and it's like,
Mhm.
so he can do those things with his friends. Like, why do you? I was like psyching myself out, and then it was like, why don't I feel so good in this? I feel so safe. I feel so connected, like real deep soul connection. Like, I felt that. And I was like, just keep moving toward it, keep moving toward it. And then now I found
Mhm.
myself here, like, so happy.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm like trying to think, what do people always wonder at the beginning? Because
Yeah.
like I think that's helpful too. I just that's kind of like how I've treated this last situation and like the people I've dated. It's like I've gone out with them like, do I want to see them again?
Yeah. That's it.
Yes or no? And it's like I've also really paid attention to how do they communicate? Because if they're really spotty
Yeah.
and make me like sit there wondering,
Yeah.
like
No.
what are they thinking? What are they wondering? Like why haven't they messaged me for 4 days? I'm like, I'm out. Because
Agreed.
my husband is not going to make me feel like I'm don't know where he stands or like know if he's interested. And obviously, you don't need to talk 24/7. I feel like that's another. I've been talking about this lately with a couple friends. I'm like, I think if a guy is willing to invest 24/7 into you right from the beginning, it's a red flag. Because
Agreed.
I'm like, why do you not have your own life going on that you're so available and free to drop everything in your life to like make it all about me? Obviously, that would feel nice as a girl because you're like, oh my God, he's like obsessed with me. But I'm
Yeah.
like, to me, it shows lack of boundaries, discipline. Like there's just so many, because as a man, it's like you should be on your purpose most of the time, like doing something that's important for you. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if you're willing to just throw it all away for me, like you said, another one, like don't cancel for like your plans for a guy. Another thing that's really important because it's like, no, you have your own life and that's really valuable to remain in that and not drop everything just because this guy comes in that you kind of like. It's like if you're supposed to continue to see each other, you're going to be able to make it work around your schedules. Like,
Yeah. And
so important.
especially like the kind of masculine man that it sounds like you want, and I
Mhm.
know that I want. A masculine man is like focused on his purpose, is like
Yeah.
building his career, is building his life, is taking care of himself, is showing up for his friends and his family. So if he's suddenly so available to you, like, I agree, complete red flag. Like, that sounds like he's not on his, like,
He's
working
not on
toward his
purpose.
purpose. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And like, and
Mhm.
it's this masculine feminine thing is so interesting, and I'm so aware of it, and it's like really changed the game for me. Like,
Mhm.
having a man that is so like manly, protective, career focused, ambitious, and also in his divine masculinity of like,
Healed,
is
yeah.
communicative, is open, is not afraid to be vulnerable, is,
Mhm.
lifts me up. Like, my career, our careers, they're very like
Mhm.
unconventional, right? A lot of men would be so insecure and so
Yeah.
intimidated by a woman who is on social, who is beautiful, who is sharing her life, who is like has a community, who's like all these things, like, especially
Mhm.
so visibly. So it takes like a very secure, grounded, rooted, like, divine masculine. I really like
Mhm.
that term because it's
I
like,
love it. Yeah.
yeah, masculine can sometimes sound like, oh, like, you
The
know
toxic masculine.
yes, toxic masculine. The divine masculine is like, okay, we have that protector mentality, we
Mhm.
have that provider protector mentality, but we also have that like lifting your partner up and wanting her to be happy and taking care of her and loving her, and like that mix of both worlds, like, that's what I
Yeah.
want. And honestly, that's what I have right now. And it's like, I cannot believe, like, I like taking it full circle, like, I cannot believe I was so scared. Like, if I only knew that this is what was on the other side for me,
Mhm.
like, oh my God. And I know everything happens in perfect timing, like we've talked about, but like, this is what I've been waiting for. And will it work out with this person? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now I know like what this
Mhm.
feels like. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I will never settle for anything less than this.
That's it. It's like the
Yeah.
I think it's the unattachment to the outcome too. It's like you're learning about this person. Like, are you fitting the things that are really important? Yes. And so I'm willing to keep seeing you, but you're not trying to make the decision right now, like, are we going to be together forever? And I think when you alleviate that
Yeah.
pressure, it allows the relationship to bloom in such a beautiful way that's natural and you're not trying to control it. And like when you are in your feminine after, I mean, same thing for me. I'm like, I can be so heavy in my masculine when I'm working, but I don't want to do that in a relationship, in a marriage. Like, I want a guy to be able
Hmm.
to lean on and have him to be able to be that man. And for me, I just feel like for you to remain open and in a state of being able to receive, if you are in your feminine, you have to allow, like, you have
Hmm.
to just allow things to be. You wanting to control it and know the answers is your masculine. So it's like the
Hmm.
only way to be in your feminine is to allow it to be what it is. In your feminine, it's your being. That's the only way that
Mhm.
you can kind of move through dating, I think, especially when you're looking for that type of partnership. Like, if you're trying to know how everything's going to go and you're trying to control every single outcome, that's you being your masculine. And it's such an easy way to kind of check yourself and just be like, okay. And honestly, I feel like when you take that pressure off, it allows, energetically speaking, I feel like there's a cord that gets created between two people. And the second that you're on that like pulling, you're like, but I want this from him and I want this, and you're trying to control it. It's like they can feel that and it creates resistance on their end. Where when you just allow and you remain unattached, it allows them to have the space to come in and pursue. Like, let them have the space to pursue and let them be in their masculine, which is the chaser. They want to do that.
Mhm.
I always just
Mhm.
think that, like, have you read the book The Way of the Superior Man?
No.
Oh my God, you should read it. You'll love it. It's like, it will
Okay.
make so much sense about your whole life. But it talks about how the man is like, the reason he has a thing is because it's like they charge forward, move forward like this. Women are a circle, you're open. You're just supposed to exist and allow. They need the space to be able to come charge forward and pursue. And so
Mm.
it's like, as women, sometimes we get so obsessed with like the outcome. Just let it
Mhm.
be what it is. And I feel like you're doing that beautifully by just, do I want to go on the second date? Yes. Do I want to see you again? Yes. Like,
And
let them. Yeah.
feeling like the women's role, like the women bear a lot of the role in relationships of like the emotional part of it, right?
Yeah.
So like the less we're focused on the outcome and controlling
Mhm.
and what's going to happen, then the more we can feel into it and really like feel the like the feelings, like are we am I feeling happy and loved and secure? Like if I'm just trying to decide if he's my husband and control it all, I'm not
Mhm.
actually tapping into
The
myself. And
feeling.
then the feeling, yeah, so
The
that,
feeling being in the present. Like,
yeah,
you can't be in the present where you're trying to figure out if he's your husband for the future.
yes,
Like, yeah.
agreed. I couldn't agree more. And I loved that reel that you posted, because I think you were talking about, it really stuck with me, the resentment that can build up
Mhm.
when you're a woman in your masculine in a relationship. It's like, sure, like maybe it starts working, like
Mhm.
starts as it's working, but then women get very resentful
Yeah.
that so much of the burden is on them, because if you have the emotional burden and the feelings burden and the mental burden and also the physical burden and all the logistical stuff, like if you're doing
Mhm.
everything, like how is that okay, like how
It
can you
doesn't
be
work.
happy? It doesn't work.
You
It doesn't work.
cannot. It will not work. Like, you
Yeah.
want a partnership, and a partnership means like they take on some role, you take on some role, and that can
Yeah.
go back and forth. Like, I just feel like it's important for women to know there's no women who don't exist in their masculine sometimes. Like, you
Right.
need both
Yes.
energy.
Oh,
Just like
100%.
for your man, if he's only in his masculine, he can never drop into his heart and his feminine, you're never going to feel connected. So it's
Right.
like you need both, like both parties need both. But you want the polarity of the man primarily being in the masculine, especially with the dating and the courting. Like, that's on him
Yes.
to be in his
Agreed.
masculine and you to just exist and allow it to be what it is. Um,
And we
without
can
changing.
be, yeah, sorry to interrupt
No,
that
go,
last. I was
go.
just, I was going to say, and we can be in our masculine with work, like with
Hmm.
running our businesses and showing up every day and managing things and making decisions and doing all that stuff. But like when I walk in the door at home at night, like
Hmm.
I want to feel like, okay, whew, like I can breathe, you
Are you
know?
guys living together or did you get your own
No,
place?
no, I have
Yeah.
my own place. Yeah, I have
That'll
my
be
own
fun
place.
too. Yeah. To still like
Yeah,
keep your space. Yeah.
I really wanted to, because I was living in the house with my ex-husband, like that my ex-husband and I had lived in up until just a few weeks ago, and I really wanted to get my own place. And we're just not there yet. Again, with taking it slow, like
Yes.
I know how I feel, but it's been 6 months. I'm not trying to move in with him.
Okay,
But
wait, hold. This is important too. I feel like for women to remember, like 6 month rule, I feel like you're just starting to get a clearer picture of like who they are, but you
yeah,
don't really know for 2 years. I don't know if you found that, but I feel like 2 years is
interesting.
usually the mark where you're like really have seen all sides typically of a person. Where if
Fair.
you're just like rushing in and jumping in and like wanting to be in love or like have this relationship that you're projecting onto this person, I feel like that's when issues arise because
Right.
you didn't take the time to just like see how they are, you
Right.
know? So I feel like
At
this is really
least,
valuable that you're living on your own still.
yeah.
Yeah.
At least, I love that 2 year thing. I would say at the very least, all 4 seasons. So 1 year,
Yeah.
like a full cycle of a year,
Mhm. Yeah.
where it's like all the different parts of life and how they come together in
Yeah.
holiday. You know what I mean? Like,
All of it. Mhm.
so yeah, so I really want, it was really important to me that I move into a fresh space on my own, not where my ex-husband has ever been, and just
Yeah.
like have my own life. And like,
Yeah.
listen, I met him in my boyfriend in the fall. I went to Miami for 2 months. Flew to me twice to see me. Like, if a man wants to, he absolutely will, you know? And
Mhm.
and I'm going to Miami again next winter. I already decided that for at least 2 months, if not three. If he wants to come see me, he will. Maybe I'll fly back because it's 3 months. Maybe I'll fly back once or twice or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not changing my life because I've met someone. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to miss out on opportunities and life things for me just because I've met someone that I really like.
Right.
I think that's really important is like keep your own life, keep your friends, keep your hobbies, keep your plans, keep all the things. Just
Mhm.
try and integrate them into it.
Yes. So good. So valuable. I love
Yeah.
it. Um,
Great.
okay, we're been on for an hour, but I'm like, I still could ask you so many more questions. But
We might have to
any,
do a part two. Maybe
I
once I
know we,
announce on social or something and it
I
was like,
know.
you know?
Yeah. And just because I feel like it's so helpful for people to hear those beginning stages of dating and like how it all plays out, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being willing to be open and share all of this. And it's 11:11 on my end, which is cute.
Woo, love it.
But on your end, I would just want to say like anything that you want to kind of end with, um, and just as like last final thoughts for anybody who's listening, which I think this is such a beautiful representation, this whole cycle of everything you've been through, of the long-term relationship. Also, the other book, I just feel like I need to say, like, You Only Fall in Love Three Times. Have you heard of it?
That one, yes. And I cannot believe it's like your three loves, right? Your sweet innocent. Like that is my life right now. I cannot believe how like that book
Yeah.
has come up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have read that one. Crazy.
Okay. So I want
Yeah.
people, you guys,
Yes.
You Only Fall in Love Three Times. If you haven't read it, I literally within 3 days, I was listening to it like a psycho
Yeah.
when I was
Crazy.
like trying to decide if I should separate, should I not, like all the things. And it talks about your like really safe love, which was obviously your
Sweet.
husband,
Yeah. Like the
sweet
sweet, innocent love.
comfort, like
Yeah.
friendship, sweet
Yeah.
innocent love. And then that's like called your soulmate love. Then you have your karmic, which is a shit show, which you had.
Toxic love. It's like your
Yeah.
toxic love. And if you don't learn the lessons of your
You'll
toxic
keep having it
love, you'll
repeat.
keep having
Mhm.
more toxic loves. And I remember very distinct because I read this book before I started dating my ex-boyfriend. And I remember when I was ending things with him, I was like, I am learning these lessons because
Yes.
I am not going through this
Doing
again.
this. Literally. And then the third one is like they call it your twin flame or whatever, but like it's meant to be really healthy but passionate and lots of lessons learned together as like a true
Yes.
partnership.
Yes.
So
Love.
very cool that you're like going through the cycle of those types of loves, and
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, any
Yeah.
last thoughts? Obviously,
Yeah.
I'll put your stuff in the show notes for where people can find
Perfect.
you, but any last thoughts, and then we'll end it here.
Just to trust the timing of your life and how things are unfolding. Like everything's happening exactly how it's supposed to. If it was meant to be a different way, it would happen a different way. So trusting exactly where you are right now is where
Mhm.
you're meant to be. And it sounds so cliche and silly, but like I lean into that a lot. Otherwise, I'm at Alessia Sculpt on social. And I have an online fitness platform with lots of workouts. And on social, I do share some fitness, but I share a lot about wellness, about being in your 30s, not married, not having kids yet, about like spirituality, like is more well-rounded, more wellness and lifestyle now.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for having me, Carly. It's been so fun to like follow
Yeah.
your journey as I'm going through it and vice versa. And then to
Mhm.
finally have the chance to chat. It's been so nice.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your time. And I can't wait to like follow along on these updates and how things go with you guys.
Yeah. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being here.